Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to NLTV Season 2, Episode 6. Sixth episode, this is. Oh, yeah.
Very excited.
And special this week is we want to recognise and wish Mazel Tov to all those who were honoured on the Queen's birthday honours list.
That's a little later. Right? It was supposed to be usually in June, but now they were announced in October.
And many of them in our community. Makes me very proud.
Yes.
And some people who I know up north as well. Jewish people, which is marvellous.
Absolutely.
You could be next.
So who do we meet tonight?
Well, David Parlons,
Oh.
a well-known member of our community and a well-deserved honour, and very proud of that one.
Yes, absolutely.
We should also be meeting Rabbi David Meyer, and we don't meet Karen Pollock because she is already a previous guest here on NLTV. Perhaps that's why she got it.
That's right. We got her here before she was honoured, right?
Exactly.
We honoured her first.
But again, a very well-deserved honour. So if you're listening, Karen, mazel tov to you. And yes, it's been a different sort of week this past week. You know, we've finished the Chagim, and now we're into Bar Mitzvah season.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
every week for till Christmas, we're allowed to say Christmas in the shul. Then we've got a bat mitzvah every week, which is marvellous. I love it. And people are being very creative.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know, they're doing what they can. I mean, we had a Zoom bat mitzvah last night, which was really beautiful. Very well done.
Nice.
And there was a car mitzvah, very different, you know, like a drive-in and socially distanced. And, you know, people want to market and recognize that this is definitely a milestone. And it's important to not let it go by.
Of course.
But people could do what they can.
People have been very creative. Yet some people have mentioned to me that they're actually relieved that they don't have the peer pressure to put on a great party.
Oh, that's true.
You know, there's two sides to it. But on the other hand, people, you know, the kids, they want to have a party like everyone else. So yeah, people are being creative, like the car mitzvah. We're doing takeaway kiddushim, and even that's gone up. So we started off with the mini grape juice the first week and a packet of Bisley. The next week, you know, it was a mini whiskey and a mini vodka. Then it was a choice, mini wine, mini whiskey. Right. And now the miniatures are, you know, a 21-year-old whiskey with personalised bags and face masks.
You know, this is a point of contention. You know, it's very controversial, you know, but I think it's individual. You know, people do what they can.
Of course. And
they shouldn't feel forced to, you know, do more or less.
I think that's why they standardised the shul kiddush here in the first place.
That's right.
The same every week.
That's right. Yes, and it's an important when they celebrate it here. But you know, every situation is different. You know, some people have, you know, it's their last, their son, or it's their only son or the only daughter, and they want to do something special, and so, you know, everybody's situation is different at different times, and we can't really be a judge of that.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people. Their second bar mitzvah, 83, will be bigger than the first one because, you know, during the war and things like that, they couldn't celebrate, and they celebrate later in life. And so maybe there'll be some grand 15-year-old boys' birthday parties and 15-year-old girls' birthday parties because they couldn't do the bat mitzvah or the bar mitzvah like they wanted. But, you know, any excuse for a party, really.
That's right, that's right. So let's see David Parlons, who received a BEM for the amazing work he did with
the Sandys Row Shul near Liverpool Lamb Street Station in London.
That's right. All right, let's go over to Rabbi Friedman and David.
David Parlons, welcome to NLTV.
Thank you.
It's such an honor and a privilege to have such a respected member of our community here on NLTV celebrating your BEM, British Empire Medal. Wow, mazel tov.
Thank you.
Now, I know it's very well deserved. Your decades of service to Anglo Jewry have finally not gone unnoticed. It's never been unnoticed by the local community, but to have this award and this recognition nationally, royally, is about time. Tell us a little of how we got to this point and what the history of David Parlons and Sandys Row and Anglo Jewry.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I suppose it goes back to something like 1975-ish. I was on the board of Kinloss Gardens for 21 years, actually. I was head of the Cheder classes, and in fact, when I first started at the Cheder classes, we had about 32 children. And I hit on an idea one Sunday morning at assembly. I said, if any child brings in another child and that child stays in the shul, in the Hebrew classes, for 5 consecutive weeks, I personally will give you £5.
Wow.
As my old rabbi, that's the Rabbi Bernstein, Zivrilacha, said, you've got to fight fire with fire. So within a year, we had 325 children.
That's amazing.
And I started a class there for children with special needs, which was also very, very popular.
Well, it's clear now where it's in the genes, isn't it? Louise, for our viewers, Louise Bentata is David and Liz Parlons' daughter, who is one of the chairs of our Aleph Center. So clearly, Cheder has always been part of the Parlons family.
Maybe. But I was on the board when the late Freddie Fisher, Zivrilacha, and myself brought in the late Rabbi Isaac Bernstein, Zivrilacha, who used to be at Norris Lee, went to America, came back, and we were there. And sadly, he passed on. I was very close to him, and his tapes are at a premium these days. Anyway, sometime later, about 1996-7, I joined Norris Lee. I became very friendly with Ruby Livingstone, wonderful man, who's in the army these days, Dov, and now your good self. And I think I was on the board of Norris Lee for about a year or 2 years when I first joined. But I do remember way back in 19...
So let me just get this straight.
Yes.
So Rabbi Bernstein tells you have to fight fire with fire.
That's what he said.
Rabbi Livingstone joins the army, and Rabbi Kaplan was a tank driver. I don't know where my story will take me, but I'm getting a little worried, David. But go ahead.
Don't ask. So way back in about 1986, a dear friend of mine called Stephen Zobin, who's a prominent member of Monk's Shul, and who used to work in the city, so did I. He said to me one day, David, there's a shul in the city called Sanders Road Shul.
He must be related to Rabbi Zobin from Meyer.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And he said, this is closing down. Do you want to come and have a look at it? So I had a look. It was difficult to get in, but I managed to persuade the board of trustees at that time one evening to let me in. I looked around the shul and they said, what are you doing here? And I said, I'd love to help stop the shul closing down. And they argued, please get out. In the end, I got my way. I said, I will promise you, I will make sure we have a lunchtime mincha minyan for the people in the city. It took a year to get this done. So 1986, 87, there was a small afternoon mincha minyan there, but they were lucky to get a minyan, in fact. So I worked hard. I remember 2 or 3 days in 1987, 3 bochers were passing by, and we had 7 people in the shul. So I waited outside. I saw them. I said, please come in. No, we are very, very busy. I'm not to come in. It's a big mitzvah. No, I literally dragged them in by their arms. And after they stayed, and 3 people who wanted to say Kaddish said Kaddish, they both hugged me. You can't do it these days with COVID, but they hugged me and they said, thank you so much. Anyway, from then onwards, we have had, I was there every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. It's closed now, but from 1987 through to 2020, every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, for a lunchtime mincha minyan. I start off with a shir given by, used to be Shalom Springer from Stamford Hill, was an amazing guy. And latterly I brought in a guy called Danny Floss, who also is extremely good. I gave a shir first of all. We had mincha. Following mincha, I started a Tehillim service. Now, if you'd asked me way back in 1985, 86, I work in the city, would I believe in the power of Tehillim? I would have said probably not really. But I started Tehillim services, and the results have been quite amazing. Since 1987 to 2020, the exact figures are 2,177 people are alive.
That's amazing.
People who have had cancer, leukemia, brain tumours, people who were... There's one particular guy, I've mentioned his name in the past when I give these lectures, a guy called Simon Bentley, well known in the Anglo Jewry. I think he's chairman of Yad Vashem. But 20 odd years ago, he was skiing down a mountain, and unfortunately, he went straight into a tree. And one of his cousins came up to me in shul and said, look, please say to him. Well, a year later, maybe 18 months later, I was with my wife, Elizabeth, who supported me all the way, and we were at a dinner for Lubavitch, and Simon Bentley, unfortunately he lost one eye in this accident, but he came running over to me and said, Duvadul, thank you so much. I said, don't thank me, I'm the messenger. Him up there,
Wow.
my comment. So we became quite good friends, but 2,177 people, that is, I find it quite incredible.
I would say that 2,177 awards are what you've already accomplished. You know, this one is minor compared to really the true rewards of your labor. So yasher koach to you, David.
Thank you so much. And I do miss, we had to close down the Sandy Dish Road, although it's occasionally open for a Shabbat service, but I'm here and that's in the city. We have our board of trustees, we have our chairman, a guy called Rifkin. He's marvellous, Harvey Rifkin. There's Rose Edmondson, Michael Davidson.
Tell us a little about the history of Sandy's Row. I mean, it's the oldest still operating Ashkenazi shul in London.
I'd go one better. It's the oldest surviving shul, but it's one that actually is in operation, except for the COVID. And it was built in 1854 by Dutch Jews. They were all cigar makers who came over from Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And it originally was a Huguenot church. And they changed the west-east to east-west. And you've been there yourself,
Yes.
You've seen it.
Yes, I've had the honor of giving a share there.
And you gave a shir there, and we had a Kaddish afterwards for people who wanted to say Kaddish. So it was about 10 years ago we were able to get quite a bit of money from one of the funds in order to completely repair the roof. So when you come into the building, as you know yourself, it's like going in the past. It's going back in time.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And we are...
Is it heritage listed?
It is heritage listed, yes.
So
yes.
even if they'd want to have closed it, what would they have done? You can't. There's not a lot you can do with a heritage listed building.
I know, but they couldn't support the lighting, the heating, and even now, we have to be very careful what we spend.
How do you fund the shul now?
Well, every day up to February, I used to go around with a little a tin box. Actually, it was a silver box, and people were very generous, giving £5-10 a time, and that. I suppose we were collecting probably about £2,000 or £3,000 a year from those collections, which is very good. It helps. We have donations, and we have quite a few funds and foundations who are giving money to us on a long-term basis. But we've got a very good...
But you must have procured a good deal of those.
Those I didn't. The mere fact we've got a living shul, it helped other people who had good contacts.
Right.
Now, I can't take that credit, but yes, getting the ball on the getting started, it was wonderful.
Wow, excellent.
But
Now tell me why you think that this particular project grabbed you. I mean, it could have been anyone or no one, and there was something about Sandy's Road that said, as David Parlons, this is my mission.
many years ago, when I was about 13, gosh, as you know, I turned the age of 79 plus 1, actually, in August. But going back to when I was about 13 or 14, my father had a tobacco sweet shop in Whitechapel, And one day he took me to this shul, 1953-54. That was the time when the Queen came on the throne. And I loved it. It was beautiful. And it always remained in my mind. But it was, as I said, 1985, 86, I had a lunch with Stephen Zobin in the city. And he said, David, you've got to have a look at this. And from then onwards, I fell in love with it. And I only wish I could do this to Hillim. I've tried outside the shul, but there was a special magic at Sanders Row, having 30, 40, 50 people for a lunchtime mincha minyan.
And, a century and a half of prayers that are in the fabric of the shul that add to that, those Tehillim prayers, no doubt take it straight up to heaven.
I believe in that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there still simchas at Sanders Row?
We had a bar mitzvah there about 3 weeks ago, actually. There
3
was
weeks
one mitzvah.
ago.
Only a few people could attend.
Right.
It was lovely. But I must admit, there have been some very funny stories. I could, if I may.
Please.
I remember about, it's got to be 20 years ago, I was standing outside the shul. There were already 20, 25 people, some men, some women. And a guy came up to me with two meidlich, one on the left arm, his left arm, one on his right arm. And his comment was, excuse me, mate, is this where it is? And I said, well, is what where it is? He says, I'm Jewish, and these are my two ladies. We're going to get married on a kibbutz. So I'm listening. He said, how long's it going to take, mate? I thought, what's this? So I suddenly realised I know what he wants. So I went inside, and every time there's a Rosh Chodesh, I always have a 15-year-old malt scotch, a Glenmorangie, with a biscuit and a kechel for a drink. And I went inside, I bought myself, poured out a bottle of whiskey, Glenmorangie, put a towel over my arm. But I went and asked the 15 odd people who were there, I said, does anybody smoke a cigar? I do. Can I borrow your cigar cutter, please? So he gave me a cigar cutter. I went outside, I went like this. Come inside, sir. He wanted me to do a mole job. He said, no, you're supposed to use a knife. I said, no, this is the new way of doing it. And if there's a pain, we put the whiskey on top. And he ran down there. He was going to work on the kibbutz. Amazing.
Yeah.
But the other story, if there was time, I do recall about 4 years ago, we just finished mincha. It was just after 2 o'clock, and somebody came up to me and said, look, David, there's a hurriedly arranged wedding in the shul this afternoon. I said, I normally know what's going on. Didn't know. Please come here about 5. So I got there about 20 to 5. Already there were 70 or 80 men, 70 or 80 women. And I just wondered what it was all about. So as I came in, a guy came up to me. He said, hello, David. I said, hello. We met 45 years ago in a Masonic meeting, if you say so. He said, my name is, I'm going to change the names. My name is Jack. And he said, I'm getting married for the second time. I'm 67. And my wife unfortunately died of cancer. I said, I'm sorry to hear that. By the way, Henrietta, I've changed her name as well. Henrietta, come over here, sit down. This is my wife-to-be, the bride. She's 65, never been married before. Okay, so the rabbi from Northwood shouted at me, he said, David, you obviously know these people. I said, not really. He said, look, my goodness me, it's 5 o'clock. Come on, open up. What do you mean? He said, well, open up. So I said, in front of everybody, we are gathered here this afternoon for the wedding of these two people. What am I going to say? I thought to myself. So I said to this guy, you know that the reason why you are here today is because the doctors have told you 1 month time you may not be here. You've got a terrible form of cancer. So we brought the wedding forward. He said, yes. I said, I want you to promise me at 10 to 2 every day, you will actually sit down in your armchair and you will know you're going to get better. You will think we'd say to heal him for you. and he's talking to and laughing at everybody. I said, "Come over here, listen to me." So he listened. Then I spoke about the age of the shul, etc. And then I said to the Rob, "Over to you." He said, "David," he said, "that was very good. I want you to do the first two Shavuos." I said, hang on, I haven't got a singing voice. So I did first two Shavuos. Then we went on to the reading of Ketubah, etc., Simmentov, Muzzletop, breaking of the glass. And as we were walking out, a lady, probably about 45, 50, came up to me as we were coming out. She tapped me on my shoulder. She said, "Rabbi." I said, "Well, Rabbi, that was so wonderful. Fantastic. My daughter's getting married in 3 months' time. I want you to officiate." I said, "If I do that, I'll get nicked."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, truly, your merit is incredible. I think you have so much more merit and mitzvahs than most of us rabbis could ever imagine accomplishing. All those tehillim and minchas are truly outstanding. So, Mazel tov on your BEM.
Thank you.
Mazel tov and happy birthday on reaching your 80th.
Oy,
and
oy
till 120 in good health for you and for Elizabeth and for your children and grandchildren and for your mother-in-law. How old is she? A special shout out?
She is, Rita Levy is 101.
101, wow, very nice. Only good health till 120. Thank you so much for joining us today, David.
Thank you so much.
May you keep up your fantastic work. You're an inspiration to us all.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Amazing.
Nice.
Nice to see here that, he started off at Kinloss and also a cheder. He was the head of cheder there. He started,
And his
everything
daughter
starts in the
Louise
beginning.
was very involved in the Aleph Centre here.
I know.
I find out with a lot of these people who are involved in communal work, it runs in the family. I see it so often.
Well, they see it's a role model.
They see it from the parents. And,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And talking about education, let's meet Rabbi David Meyer, who is the director of Pages.
Pages, with
yes,
a J.
With a J, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, Rabbi Meyer.
Hi, Shalom Aleichem. How are you doing?
Aleichem Shalom, Baruch Hashem. Wonderful, wonderful. It's such a privilege to be speaking with you today. Mazel tov on your OBE.
Thank you very much indeed. An honor and delight to be speaking to you.
Yeah, was it expected?
No, that's very, very much not. I got a letter actually in June, so to be fair, by the time the news came out in October, it was expected. But
So it's like contestants on a TV game show. You're not allowed to actually tell anybody.
I told my wife. That was about it.
Right.
It's fair to say, for me to keep a secret for 4 months was an enormous challenge.
Oh wow! Well, Mazel tov, Mazel tov. Well, a truly deserved honor. Pages does fantastic work in our community, bringing everything together. Would you like to tell our Norrisley TV viewers a little about the work that Pages does?
With pleasure, and hi all to the viewers. Lovely to be speaking to you. Basically, I actually used to be the executive head teacher of Hasmonean High School, and at the time that I was there, I very much enjoyed my position. But one of the things I really did find is that it was very lonely being at the head of a school. And I felt that there was the opportunity for us to be starting to build a network across the Jewish schools. And Pages already existed. Alistair Falk had established it a couple of years before I left Hasmonean. But when I came into Pages, what I wanted to do was to try and build this network, to develop some form of links across the schools. There are actually 120 Jewish schools across the UK, of every different type of shape and different levels of religiosity, etc. But we have a common thread in the fact that we are all Jewish schools. And so we have built this collaborative network, and Pages works to develop that network in a number of ways. First of all, we support the needs of those schools in representation to government, discussions with the Department of Education, and discussions with Ofsted and the such like. And that particularly in recent years has been very important because there have been a lot of developments that I think have impacted on faith schools and Jewish schools particularly. We also do work with governors and government training and governance. We have our Jewish Schools Awards, which celebrates the achievements as teachers within the schools and educational professionals. We also do work in educational delivery and support. So therefore we have got curriculum materials, particularly in Jewish studies and Ivrit, both at primary and secondary school. And we will work with the teachers in supporting them in the delivery of that curriculum specifically, and generally in training them as well. Of late, over the last few weeks and months, I'm sure you want to talk about this in more detail, we've also obviously had a lot of focus with regards to COVID and responding to the situation there. So we've had a very bespoke training for schools in that regard.
Right. And a couple of months ago, we had a member of ours, Julia Alberger, who is doing some work particularly related to mental health issues during generally for underpages. Is that project still ongoing?
Absolutely. It's a really important area. In fact, it was triggered about 5 years ago when we ran our first head teachers residential conference. And what we asked them to do was to select what they felt were the key priorities that pages should be working on. And one of those key priorities was mental health and well-being of students. At the time, it was really before the curve. Most schools and educational establishments hadn't really started discussing this properly. And we started running some programs on it, partnering up with organizations like Place to Be. And then Julia really took this and ran with it and has developed it into the most incredible initiative. We are piloting specific programs in a number of schools across the UK, but also generally giving support to schools on what has now become, I think, probably the most important area for our work with teenagers and generally for the work of schools with teenagers. Is just protecting our children and ensuring that they have got some level of well-being.
Now, you've been in this business for many years. Are adolescents today in a greater risk of mental health issues?
Wow, that's a big question. First of all, thank you for pointing out my age. I
should note for our viewers, we have daughters who are good friends and classmates and spend a lot of time together. So, one day you'll be as old as me.
Thank you, and it's always a delight having Jerry come around to our house. So, I think that it's a very good question. The reality is, I think that there's a number of things that are happening. First of all, without doubt, we are more attuned to be picking up issues of well-being. So I think that there is a level of us being more sensitive to it. However, without doubt, the pressures of social media, the pressures of examinations within schools, and generally social pressures, I think, have raised concern with regards to the well-being of children. That was all pre-COVID. Now that we've come into the situation of lockdowns and the pressures that have taken place educationally due to this virus, I think that things have gone through the roof. In fact, JPR have just come out with a report which has highlighted how worrying the situation was regarding well-being, particularly of teenagers and children in schools.
Well, I think, when I first tweeted a Mazel Tov to you, and you responded that it was really an award on behalf of all of your staff, and Yashikar to the entire Pages staff, but really to all of our Jewish educators and educators generally who are doing a yeoman's job in amidst all of this craziness, and to be able to day in, day out, through the lockdown, serve our children through Zoom and now through face masks and visors. What advice do you have for the average teacher that's struggling each morning just to get out of bed and do their job?
I have to say I'm in awe at our teachers and particularly our educational leaders, at the way that they have stepped up and met this challenge. And it is almost impossible to comprehend the multiple layers of this challenge, because you're absolutely right. First and foremost, we've got to ensure the health and safety of the children and the teachers coming into the schools. And that has been enormously difficult. Just turning an education environment in a place which is sanitized and safe, creating the bubbles and ensuring that there is reassurance for the teachers within those environments, particularly when some of those teachers are obviously in vulnerable groups, is really very complicated. Then, as we talked about dealing with the health and well-being of the children, is an added layer. Then finally, you seem to come to the educational aspects. How do you catch up for the time that is lost? How do you ensure that children that are isolated are going to be able to keep up with the children who are inside the classroom? How do you ensure that education can flow when teachers literally do not know, when they set a homework on a Monday, whether those children are still going to be in school on Tuesday, or whether they're going to be isolated, whether they're out for a week, whether they're out for 2 weeks? And then I hate to add to all of that, unfortunately, the financial pressures of our community are such that the voluntary contributions have dropped for the schools. And that has just created the most incredible dynamic within the school. It's like almost a perfect storm where there is no money to spend, and yet the needs of the children are ever increasing, and indeed of the teachers to support are ever increasing. So yeah, I think it's a very, very difficult time for everybody. I would say that one of the things that we have tried to do is to help. So we have obviously arranged talks with expert doctors and public health professionals to prepare schools and help them to prepare from the health perspective, as you've discussed with me already, the work that Julia's been doing with regards to the well-being. But we also have a lot of work, in fact, it's covered in the Jewish Chronicle this week, about our blended learning program, where we are now training 30 educators across 30 different schools on how to have that hybrid, if you want, of face-to-face learning and at the same time distance learning. And I think that that is one of the new realities that schools are going to have to grapple with, is to find that balance and to be able to try and best deliver education with, unfortunately, the challenges that they're facing at the moment.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being there to support all of our head teachers, supporting all of the teachers who are supporting all of our students, who are supporting the future. So you really have the world on your shoulders, Rabbi David Meyer. Thank you for taking time to speak to NLTV today. And thank you for having Joey almost every weekend.
That's the highlight. And thank you to all of you. I mean, I have to say that one of the critical successes has been the role that parents, and indeed I think that the community synagogues, etc., have played in being able to partner the schools in delivering an education to the children. I think one of the positives that we should take out of this is that I think that the pendulum has swung back to the middle of the responsibility of schools and children and schools all being there together and being able to deliver the education of the home, the family, and of the child. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedman and Rabbi Meyer. Really fascinating stuff. You know, how Pages in itself is really an amazing concept network. You know, bringing all the Jewish schools together. You know, having one source. Why reinvent the wheel? You know, and with their work with mental health and youth is really amazing. And
we actually started working with them, but it was before the lockdown. It never materialized. For people who come to shul in order to receive the chief rabbi's points for school admissions. So sometimes people come to shul, it's really, for the whole family, it's their first real shul experience. So to do something, you know, in the hall or something at the same time with shul, something educational, like a shorter prayer service, but educational at the same time, and I think many people could benefit from that. Actually, on that note, I would like to remind our viewers that on the 18th of November, we will be doing a special one-off Zoom share called a Siddur Satnav. This is by popular request. I always said, you know, if you will listen. And people have asked, you know, we come to shul, we want to follow a service. Yes, the more you come, the more familiar you'll be. But just to give us a basic outline of the structure of the prayers and, you know, how to find your way around the Siddur. So we're going to start off with one session and we may do follow-ups as well. So all those who asked for it, make sure you're the ones who turn up as well.
Yes, and that's for the youth and the
all ages, all ages. Because shul for everyone.
For
men, women, boys, girls, whoever you are.
So yeah, so that's
religious,
exciting.
non-religious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jewish, I suppose. Yeah.
And so we have a very exciting new restaurant.
Yes, I've not been there, but
in the suburb. Yes,
I'm taking the wife tomorrow. We're trying to eat out.
Yes, well, you know, I went last night. I had to run out to get some milk for the kids in the morning, and I saw it was packed. I mean, obviously to the capacity, and there was those singles eating outside, you know, and then the families indoors. Really unbelievable. And we get to see a little bit of behind the scenes. We went in. Rabbi Friedman put up the mezuzah right on the door on Friday. So
I have had a sneak peek myself a couple of weeks ago, the bar was up.
Ah,
We've got a nice bar
yes,
there.
yes. So let's see. Let's here. You'll see a little bit of a taster. So what do we have here?
We are here at Kasa Bar and Grill, and I want to wish a hearty mazel tov, Eric and the entire family, mazel tov, on the grand opening. We are about to put the mezuzah up, and then we are going to momentarily, you'll tell us a little about it.
Oh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddusham nefesav v'tzvanu b'mezuzah.
Amen.
Now you'll notice, for those who are questioning the direction here, of course, we have different customs as to how a mezuzah is placed. This is the Sephardi way that goes straight up and down. It is a vertical placement.
He's Moroccan. They're not
And my blessing to you, my barakah to you. Carry on.
Mazel tov,
For those who
Jade.
don't know, Israel's the father-in-law. The beloved father-in-law.
Yeah, exactly.
Who shares his time between Norrisley and the square.
There's more square than Norris.
Thank God.
I'm a square.
That's great.
All right, so mazel tov on this new establishment. This is fabulous. We wish you may this exceed all expectations. It's not an easy time to open, but this is going to be the best time of your life. Anything that you dreamt of, it's going to completely exceed. You're going to have this place booming. Everybody is looking for a place like this right now. And I understand maybe you have Shabbat. Tell us a little about the restaurant. How it came to be and where we're up to.
The suburb needed a kosher restaurant, really, mainly for me and Mark Katz. We've had a lot of people inquiring and saying that would work, and so we went ahead and did it during lockdown, took the opportunity and did that. So we're delighted with the result. And if you want to walk through, you can see the splendor of the build.
Show us around. Here, take us on a tour.
Absolutely, yes. Take us on a tour. The
Tour
ground
de
floor.
France.
Mazel tov, Jane. Very exciting. So who do we have here?
We have the grill. This is the grill area where we have the shawarma, the open barbecue grill, and obviously the falafels and everything else. The salad bars.
So what kind of restaurant is it? It's a meat restaurant.
Middle Eastern restaurant with quite a big Moroccan influence. Obviously, we're Moroccan.
Right, okay.
And obviously, our chef Shahar is Moroccan. He's come up with dishes that he's merged and he's infused with, which is actually, when you'll taste some, which we'll hopefully do shortly.
Okay.
As quite
Looking forward to it.
Moroccan influence. Yeah, absolutely. And then can't lose the bar area.
Venue.
Hope will fit the palate of everybody.
Oh
So we've got
wow!
a good whiskey range.
And smoking with smoking.
This is just incense.
And this is your regular bartender.
No, my regular
okay.
bartender. But I think you probably have a go, yeah. Why not? And we've also got
What a
coffee
machine!
with,
Wow, that's a beautiful.
with soy milk or almond milk, which people prefer.
Okay. Oh, and the mashkiach, no?
Yes.
Very important.
Fancy the mashkiach.
Benzi, Yashikov, thank you.
And then if you want to go through to the prep,
Oh, we have a washing station.
we have a washing station, absolutely. And then we go into the prep area.
Oh wow, behind the scenes.
Absolutely. You can keep going.
Hello, hello, Mazal Tov.
Hello.
Is this your shachar?
This is Shahar.
Ah, beautiful. What do we have here? Oh, the pommes de terre. Douce.
Pomme du chien.
Sweet potatoes.
And then you can keep going.
Keep going, there's
To the
more?
left,
Oh,
you
there's
can-
more. Oh my gosh, you're really
that's
giving
right.
us back. Oh wow.
Yeah,
Look at
yeah.
this back coverage. Hi,
Absolutely.
hi. Thank you. And oh, nice. This is fried. Fresh fries?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Crisps, like they call it here. No, they don't call it. What do they call it here?
They call it
Chips.
Chips, yeah.
Chips. French fries. Where are we?
This is called the shokodashimi.
That's right. Very nice. Amazing. Very exciting stuff, you know?
Yeah, and it's local as well.
Yeah.
You can walk there now from here. To the
Yeah,
shul.
yeah, and like I said, it's already bustling and, you know, really full and exciting. And We went for lunch today, and really,
How was it?
it was unbelievable, delicious.
Service was
Unbelievable.
Food was good? Oh.
We were very excited. We didn't get to taste it on the Friday, as we were hoping to, but so we had to come back today.
I'll go
But,
tomorrow.
yeah, you know, people from across the world are asking where we're located, so God willing, it should bring him a lot of hatzlacha.
Amen.
Yes.
And yes, good luck with it. We'll support you.
So this week we read Parshat Noach.
Yes, we're moving on now. Noach, the great flood.
The Great Flood. You know, I think the problem with why God had to destroy the people once and then said, okay, give them another chance, and then the Dar Haflaga, you know, the Tower of Babel, right? What was the problem there? They didn't really. You know, everybody was trying to get to God, so supposedly they felt that they were. I think that the message is really about knowing what each person contributes, right? I think, you know, it's a very apropos that the Queen's honors was given maybe in October now, not in June.
What's a coincide with
maybe, you know, to recognize that what everybody can contribute to the
everyone
to
has their role.
Maybe she's going to change a date for the future. But in any event, we are very excited. We have a triple bar mitzvah this weekend, right?
We do.
Yes.
Here in the shul where we're sitting now.
And a bat mitzvah. We have a b'nai mitzvah, right? We have a mazel tov to Josh and Yael Marcus.
Yep.
And we say a mazel tov to the Singer family, the Marcus for the b'nai mitzvah,
and
the Eliashiv family who just moved during COVID.
Yeah.
They literally moved here during COVID from Israel, and they're going to be in the Sephardi minyan. So we have a very busy weekend, and we're back up and running, and very exciting times. And we have to make the best of it.
The feedback has been good from all because we're limited with space, with capacity. So we're doing a second service for bar mitzvah families. So the first service in shul 9:30 can be at capacity, and then a second service. So people are coming, and people do feel very safe here, I have to say.
Yes, absolutely. They do wear the mask, and we're socially distanced. We'll end today with a special number about Noah, right?
Seiman HaTeva.
Seiman HaTeva.
Go out of the teva.
Go out to the teva and start afresh.
Yeah.
From Aaron Razel, who gave us permission to use this on Norsley TV. And so we leave you with this and enjoy.
The reason he gave us permission is for his publicity, because if he can get on Norsley TV, the world's his oyster.
You have to make it so obvious, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are very happy to feature this nice little number. And we wish you a great week ahead, a Shabbat Shalom.
And it's good night from me. And it's good night from me.
אתה ואשתך ובניך שניים, 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 זכר ונקבה, מן הטמאה ומן הטהורה. שניים, 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 זכר ונקבה.